Welcome back, everybody. We got a pair of PvP builds to share today, and these were actually brought to my attention by two different individuals. First is Onshini, who's also a content creator in the Diablo Partner Program. I'll leave a link in the description so you can check out his channel as well. The second is Diva, who shared some builds, insights, and so forth in the past, who is not a content creator, so I don't have any link to share for him. However, much appreciated for both of you for passing these builds on for me to kind of present and so forth. Now, I want to talk about the two biggest differences between these two builds before we start talking about some of the similarities. First, one uses 4-piece Mountebank and the other uses 4-piece Grace. One build uses the 4-piece Mountebank because it typically works better for players of higher resonance, with Mountebank shield working on a percentage of health. This is going to scale with your resonance. Perhaps you have a PvP tower because you or your clan has some higher resonance players. So all this kind of compounds on itself. Second one uses 4-piece Grace. This is better for low and mid resonance players, and it works more like a hit and run style. You're going to go in, make use of some immunity and alternate forms, basically do your damage and then retreat, hopefully safely, and then repeat the process as these cooldowns come back up. Now the second big difference is that they use different pant essences. One build is going to use the stun when leaving Sanguinate, and the other one is going to use the heal from Swarmer Bats, just to kind of hopefully add a little bit of survivability to the build. And as you use that hit and run playstyle and kind of repeatedly use it, it may add up and keep you topped off a little bit more than it would be otherwise. Also, if you were to leave Sanguinate as a low to mid resonance player in the middle of a group of enemies, you may have more difficulty retreating and getting out safely. So those are really the two big differences. You're free to use whatever you like, but in general, this is kind of my assessment of what the two main differences between the builds and what makes one better for higher resonance, one makes the other better for lower and mid resonance. First, let's take a look at the opening scene with the Mountebank build. Keep in mind, I do not have the proper Sanguinate essence here. I haven't been able to get it, so I'm going to use this in the dash form there, and I do that to reveal myself. I want the enemy team to know that that's me trying to get past. This is going to cause them all to follow along, or at least a majority of them, allowing my team to kind of follow up and get through that choke point. Now keep an eye on my health bar. You'll see how much damage I take, and when the shield procs, there's a shield proc prior to this, so it's going to be a little bit. There's another large shield there, and just the sustainability that I have with this build is enormous. I certainly don't have a tremendous amount of kill capacity, but it's like I'm getting continual shields, and I'm occupying the majority of their team, right? I actually have 5 players here, and a 6th one I actually believe comes at a certain point. So I'm occupying the vast majority of their team. I finally get help from a teammate here pushing through as well, and we're just allowing our team to break through. As you can see, they've now gotten to the idols on both sides. And the icing on the cake here is that I actually have the survivability to actually hold out for this entire encounter, get back to the objective, and bandage. Here's the opening scene for the 4-piece Grace, and you'll notice that my positioning has become a lot more paramount for me. I don't want to stand there and just kind of face tank things like I was with the Mountebank and the shields. However, my ability to do damage is greatly amplified. You can see that I'm going to go back, use my positioning, bandage. Now I can go forward as well, and this isn't going to show off the set per se, but this is going to show some of the mobility you have in this build. I'm able to get to the spawn point, back to the objective, and kind of repeat this process over and over without really feeling like I'm wasting time and not accomplishing something. So this build, in fact, using these select essences makes you fairly mobile. I also unleash the ultimate here, and this is a great display. This ultimate is very, very strong, which is just another reason why Shadow's Edge is better than Ravage. When using Grace over the Mountebank set, one disadvantage is, well, sometimes you get blown up without that shield. When using Mountebank over Grace, sometimes you just can't do enough damage to take the enemy down before they get additional reinforcements. And if the rest of your team is down and you're getting focused with all the crowd control, well, there isn't much of a chance for you even to get away. So what's the build? Well, regardless of which set pieces we choose as the option for ourselves, we're going to run Sanguinate, Wave of Blood, Siphon Blood, Swarm of Bats, and Shadow's Edge. For essences, remember there's only one piece that will change depending on the build. So for Siphon Blood, we're going to run Horns to the Hexed, Broken Korsk, Reverend Hunter, and the combination of these three are going to allow us to no longer need to channel Siphon Blood. Absolutely massive for PvP, right? We just activate this, have the ability to move around. We're going to get kind of an additional effect where when we damage them 3 times, we'll get additional damage. This will also be benefited from Grace if we use it. If we're running the Mountebank set, there's really no other piece to put in this slot. So this is just kind of the clear winner, and you also get some additional Siphon Blood damage from it if you happen to have it awakened. And the third one here is going to cause any enemy affected by Siphon Blood to have their movement speed reduced and also increase your own movement speed. So just kind of a double effect here. We're going to snare them while increasing our own speed. This is going to add to kind of our mobility, allow us to run around and so forth. And this is going to be very crucial regardless of which build you're using. Just because you have Mountebank equipped doesn't mean that you necessarily need to or have to take the damage. And if you're running the Grace version, which is more fragile, or perhaps you're a lower resonance player, well, the mobility is just an added advantage, potentially avoid some skill shots coming in and so forth. For the chest piece, we're going to run Warmth and Leg ability. This is going to give us an additional Wave of Blood charge. And on top of that, we're going to run Pinch Point for one of the offhands. This is going to allow Wave of Blood to also unleash an eruption around us, doing a knock-up effect. Very powerful. Now, to be honest here, Wave of Blood is powerful from the knock-up effect, which isn't affected by your potency against the enemy target's resistance. So again, just a strong skill for players of all resonance levels. But in addition to that, you get 3 charges out of this. So you have the means to really lock down targets, lock down multiple targets when you're trying to snare, say, barbs that are coming towards the objective. If you're on attack, you can prevent them from reaching there. You can lock them up at a spawn point, preventing them from getting to the objective. If you're on defense, you can prevent players from getting to your spawn and so forth. Just really, really powerful here. Combine that with your Sanguinate and Swarm of Bats to basically get off a Wave of Blood, go into Sanguinate, pop off another Wave of Blood, go into Swarm of Bats, kind of repeat this process and just really locking up targets. For Swarm of Bats, we're going to run Solemn Swear, which is going to transform this ability, dramatically increasing our movement speed and making us untargetable. And we do get some damage out of this as well. The biggest component of this is being untargetable. This now gives us the Swarm of Bats and Sanguinate as kind of a combo, and we can run one of these directly into the other, and it doesn't matter which order you go. So you still have to be aware of your positioning and so forth, but this just allows for you to really have a longevity that no other class necessarily has, except for maybe Necro. Now, if you're running the Grace version, you're going to want to run Oversight for the pants, and this is going to also cause Swarm of Bats to heal you for an additional percentage of the damage it does. As to your survivability for that version of the build, which is otherwise kind of fragile, this is very strong. This is going to cause Sanguinate's second activation to no longer dash. In fact, now what you're going to do is burst into the air, knocking up and stunning opponents. So this is very strong. It has an extremely small radius, so just be aware of that. You need to be very careful to make sure that you're positioned properly when you release this. However, like I said, not absolutely crucial, and this may have less of an advantage if you're lower resonance, because when you release this, you're going to be vulnerable to anybody that wasn't hit by it or when they come out of that CC. So let's take a look at the skills here with the essences. Now, regardless of which set you're running, whether it be Grace or Mountebanks, I recommend 2-piece Vithus to extend the duration of some of these skills. Now, if we have Sanguinate, regardless whether it dashes or knocks you out, you can immediately follow that up with Swarm of Bats. And you'll see that I don't even go back into human form. This gives you a lot of time that you can be in an alternate form. Now, Sanguinate, you can still be targeted by things and potentially get CC'd, but you get a large movement speed increase. And this works for a great tool for either engaging, disengaging, whatever the case may be, or just kind of avoiding general attacks. Swarm of Bats, you can be untargetable. So now you are inflicting damage while just being a nuisance and kind of staying on top of them. Super, super good skill with that essence. Solemn Snare, this is incredibly powerful, especially in PvP. Now we have Siphon Blood, and a lot of times what you're going to want to do with this, it won't always be the case, but more often than not, you're going to want to pop Siphon Blood and then either use Sanguinate or Swarm of Bats to then go and engage while your Siphon Blood is ticking. This is just going to kind of help top you off some, give you some sustainability, as well as potentially allow you to say, pop this Siphon Blood, go in with Sanguinate, and then use Swarm of Bats to get out, or vice versa. You could engage with Swarm of Bats and escape with Sanguinate. Now, you can also go through forms, say using Sanguinate, get up on a target, use a Wave of Blood, and then you can go use your Siphon Blood, Swarm of Bats out. There's a lot of possibilities here. In fact, you can alternate through these as well. I'll show you when the cooldowns come up, and potentially do kind of a staggering knockback effect to one or multiple targets. So you could pop Siphon Blood, engage with Sanguinate, pop a Wave of Blood, go into Swarm of Bats, pop another Wave of Blood, and then try to work your way out as well, getting support from your team or whatever the case may be. So very strong build, regardless of which set option you use. I suspect that even Mountebank is usable by low or mid-resonance players as well. Whether or not it'll be as effective as high resonance players using it, I'm not sure. The reason is because even high resonance players just do enough raw damage that they're able to take down targets even with that Mountebank set, but you could still easily be kind of an obstacle or a nuisance by utilizing the Mountebank set. Grace set is going to work for players of all resonance, and like I said, just focus on kind of getting in, doing your damage, getting out, and it'll play pretty similar to a Monk playstyle if you're familiar with that. As always, hope that this build works for you. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and have a great day.